have a lot of friends that smoke, and I believe that most teenagers start smoking because they really do believe it's cool.
Some people, it's like an addiction. Some people, they just like to do it because they think they're cool.
I started smoking because I was influenced one day going to school.
I guess just to fit in, and they just try it once, and I guess they get addicted.
Everybody's like, do this, do that. Yeah, so I did.
I just think they want to fit in, and at the time, especially like going from middle school to high school, they want to fit in, and they feel like cigarettes are the way they could fit in.
It's just easy to pick one up, especially if all the people around you are smoking too.
The biggest influence on kids smoking is other kids smoking.
To just fit in, really to like express myself in a more mature way with this cigarette in my hands.
Everyone knows the dangers of smoking. You've heard the statistics. Millions of deaths, greatly increased risk of cancer, heart disease, and emphysema. The product even comes with a warning label. But every day, thousands of teenagers light up for the first time.
Young people feel a lot of pressure. They want to emulate adult behavior. There's a lot of reasons why young people initiate smoking.
Laval's friends played a big role in his decision to start smoking. And he admits it didn't take long to give in to the peer pressure. He was 13 when he smoked for the first time.
I remember vividly, I was in an arcade and we were about to go in and people were breaking out cigarettes on the line and Laval, here, pick this up, take this. Okay, lit it up. I mean, so hard. The taste was horrible. The way my body reacted to it was horrible. But I'm looking around, nobody else is coughing, so let me hide that little cough, let me try it one more time.
And Laval thought that since other teens were smoking, it was the cool thing, the in thing to do.
I thought I can smoke a cigarette to try and look old.
Now, Laval knows that once you start smoking, it can be very hard to stop.
I thought it was the social norms. I seen a Surgeon General warning, but hey, well, these people are smoking. I mean, you can't pay too much attention to that.
They become, in my opinion, peer addicted as well. And once they have that, it's very difficult unless you get the whole group to quit.
What are some reasons why teens might begin to smoke? It's been decades since the last cigarette ad was broadcast on television, but images of cigarettes are all around, especially in ads found in magazines and retail stores. Despite the health risks, the ads still present smoking as something that will make you appear attractive, successful, and popular. And that message is very appealing to teenagers.
It's hard because it's really focused towards them. I mean, it's not supposed to be, but all of the ads are so trendy and they're so, pop.
Anti-smoking advocates point out tobacco marketing goes beyond the obvious advertisements. More subtle marketing tactics are being used too. One marketing ploy promotes cigarettes with exotic flavors. The flavors sound tasty and tempting.
I saw two of them, and one of them was like Kahlua flavored or something, and one was like lime.
I think they're probably targeted towards like teens and like 20s, like younger.
It seems like they've kind of always done that. I don't think it's really new. I mean, maybe it's a little more obvious that they're targeting teens, but it's kind of always been like that.
While the 1998 tobacco settlement prohibits tobacco companies from marketing to young people, critics say the cigarette makers' messages are still getting through.
Kids are looking for anything that's cool or neat, and this is something that's not the same old pack that everybody else has. And when you have the flavor, that kind of enhances their first experience and maybe leads them to try it more often.
What can teens do to combat the barrage of media influences and false advertising claims enticing them to smoke? One way is to learn about the hidden messages within the advertising.
Looking at advertising in stores, trying to understand how that advertising impacts themselves and their peers.
And then how they actually manipulate you to go out and buy them. I mean, if you look at an ad in the magazine, you're going to see that they're teenage friendly.
Ashley started smoking when she was 15. A year later, her mother caught her. Most parents would give their child an anti-smoking lecture, but Ashley's mom decided to take a different approach.
You can lecture, but I can guarantee you it's going to go in one ear and out the other.
Instead, her mom asked Ashley to join an anti-smoking program called Youth in Charge. It gives teens a chance to learn about the dangers of smoking for themselves and then share that information with other teens.
In 1 to 3 days, we talked to over 3,000 kids. And that's why I appreciated Youth in Charge, because they had youth empowerment groups telling other youth the dangers.
Ashley says this form of advocacy works.
Any other teenager that I've ever talked to, their mouths hit the floor when I was telling them. I was like, did you know this? And they're like, well, let me get a brochure, and they wanted to get involved somehow.
What we're trying to do is elevate this from just education to actual behavior change. It's one thing to have knowledge, it's one thing to do something with that knowledge.
While smoking is banned in many places, there's one place teens often see people smoking: the movies, where the beautiful people make smoking look cool.
That makes a lot of kids think about doing the same thing because these are their role models.
If they thought it was cool enough, like, if he was your idol, then you might. If he smokes, you want to do it too.
Kids have told us for decades that advertising doesn't affect them. These types of images and movies don't affect them. But when we do the studies, it's overwhelming how big the effect is.
They get all the subliminal messages that are passed on about cigaretting, that it's cool, that it's glamorous, that it's romantic.
Which is kind of ironic considering the health consequences that you get after you start smoking.
As soon as you say this is an adult behavior, the kids want to do it.
What do you think it means? This high school anti-smoking class is trying to counter the influence of the movies. The goal? To make other teens realize it's cool not to smoke. They're taking a novel approach, too. The group is creating an anti-smoking public service announcement that will run in movie theaters.
Do some surveys in the community, maybe a phone call bank, and ask people if they've seen any messages about tobacco at the movie theaters.
They're going to put it on like right before the movie starts so everybody can see it, And it's going to talk about 1 × 2 = 4, which is 1 smoke-filled room for 2 hours is equivalent to smoking 4 cigarettes.
There's pretty good evidence that showing anti-tobacco ads, especially before movies that have their favorite actors and actresses smoking, does change their attitude about whether or not it's cool to be a smoker.
Already, the club is helping change attitudes about smoking.
That there was a girl who joined the club and she was smoking at the time and she quit. And I thought that was amazing.
Advocacy groups also need to counter other myths that can make tobacco appealing to young people. For example, the myth that smoking can help you lose weight.
She was like, the whole reason I started smoking was because I thought I was going to lose weight. She used to do it at home in her bathroom and stuff like that so that she wouldn't eat as much.
Smoking does not help you lose weight. It's a myth.
As soon as the drug wears off, then, which is not very long, then the appetite comes back and there's a rebound. It even comes back more forcefully. I guess we're just wishing for something magical that will help, and it doesn't. It's a false help.
So-called light cigarettes present another false marketing ploy that lures teens to smoke.
The lights had less tar than the regulars.
I found them safer, just they're not as strong, there's other things in it. It's not packed with the tobacco and all the other 50 million bad ingredients.
In fact, they're both wrong. Light cigarettes are just as harmful as regular cigarettes.
The people who smoke those cigarettes get just as much cancer and just as much heart disease and just as much damage to their bodies.
Why? Experts say one reason is that smokers of light cigarettes still crave the same amount of nicotine, so they subconsciously smoke them differently.
They smoke more of them. They smoke them in different ways. That means that they take more puffs per cigarette, hold the puffs in longer.
And then there's the belief that smokeless or chewing tobacco is a safer alternative.
I was like, man, they say smoking's so bad, maybe this ain't as bad for you.
A lot of people believe that smokeless tobacco is a safe alternative to smoking. It in fact is not.
Smokeless tobacco can be just as dangerous and deadly as smoking cigarettes. And the nicotine concentration in smokeless tobacco is twice as high as in cigarettes.
Really, the only difference between smokeless tobacco and smoking is where you get the cancer. Oral cancer, you're going to get throat cancer, you can get esophageal cancer. It's just a different kind of cancer in a different part of the body.
Steve says a friend of his is already showing effects of smokeless tobacco, and that was enough to get Steve to quit.
Not until I started looking at the facts. My friend would show his mouth and he'd have blisters all inside of it.
These young people are looking at the end result of smokeless tobacco use. Graphic images that show what cancer can do to the human jaw.
It can make a hole in your mouth, right.
It's really disgusting. That's somebody's mouth.
That's bringing your mortality right in front of you in a mirror. If a dentist can show you, hey, as a teenager you may have been dipping a couple of years, you've already got this sore, you keep this up, you could lose half your jaw or you could die.
Amanda and her sister Crystal don't need pictures to see the devastating effects of tobacco use. They live with it every day.
When I started smoking, I had no idea. I didn't know about smoking-related illnesses. I didn't know about addiction.
Their mother, Pam, started smoking when she was just 10. It's a decision that not only changed her life, it's going to end it.
Well, I know that it's emphysema and there's no cure for it.
Pam is dying of emphysema, a lung disease caused by smoking.
What it feels like pretty much is like holding your breath all the time.
But it's hard to get teenagers to think about getting lung or heart disease in 30 or 40 years, even in 10 years.
It's not like anybody's actually thinking about when they're 40 or 50 or when they're 17.
I think teenagers are reckless. A lot of teenagers are reckless. And that because they're careless, they don't care about what's going to happen to them in the next 40 years.
We're invincible, didn't you know?
But Pam will tell you, no one is invincible.
The physical limitations that I have now are almost everything. When I'm acutely ill and I can't breathe, that is terrifying.
She says she knows as well as anyone else why you can't just say, oh, I won't get sick. It won't happen to me.
A lot of kids think that they can quit before they get sick. But the thing is you don't know when you're going to get sick.
You are more than twice as likely to become a smoker if your parents smoke. Amanda promises she and her sister won't be part of that statistic. Now, she's left to wonder if other families will face the same painful future facing her family.
I think it could be prevented if people would just start thinking about what smoking will do to you. And it does say it on the cigarette packs that it causes emphysema, but if more people knew what emphysema was and what toll it takes on your life, then I think that they would think twice.
If someone had given me a crystal ball and said, look, this is what's going to happen, of course I would not have smoked. I had no idea. But, smoking-related illness is the most preventable illness that there is. All you have to do is not smoke, and you won't get a smoking-related illness.
Laval was 13 when his friends talked him into his first cigarette, and he quickly became a pack-a-day smoker.
Actually smoking, and this was an everyday, pick up a pack, drop one, as soon as my pack is finished, I gotta run to the store and get another one. So I was actually addicted to this.
But he didn't realize the damage he was causing himself until he was at the gym one day.
So I'm sparring with this guy, doing my thing, and first 2 minutes I'm sweating, sweat just dripping. My breathing was so so uneasy. It's I felt terrible. That was the first time in my life where I just felt I couldn't do this anymore. And this one kid came up to me, one of my students, his name was Artie, and he was like, I mean, man, you're looking real slow out there. You're slipping about. What's the deal? And I'm like, wow, okay. this kid is knowing, you know what I'm saying? And that was my motivation right there. You know, these students are looking up to me, and I'm messing up.
That was when Laval decided to quit smoking. And once he quit, Laval decided to devote his time to getting other teens to quit smoking.
Some people say, if it's not doing anything to me now, come on now, I'm living life for now. I'm not worried about how my body's gonna be in 20, 30 years. But that's how people are gonna have to start thinking. Because this is a product that gradually will kill you, not instantaneously. And if it was a product that instantaneously kills you, then probably a lot of people would not even consider, smoking cigarettes.
Today, Laval is part of an anti-smoking advocacy campaign called The Truth.
And we're letting kids know, we're letting tobacco people know, tobacco companies know, we're not taking it anymore.
Part of what makes The Truth campaign work is that it helps teens realize it's cool not to smoke.
That's not only addictive, that's not only specifically engineered to be addictive, but that's deadly as well.
And I'm definitely passionate about this campaign, and to reach one person is definitely my goal. I mean, to help one person quit would definitely be beneficial to me.
That's the same message the teens who produced the public service announcement are trying to convey.
Expect a smoke-free environment. It's a matter of life and breath.
All of these efforts are aimed at giving teenagers the information they need to make the right decision.
They draw their own conclusions, and at the end of the day, when kids draw their own conclusions, they do have ownership of that information. They do feel a revelation, and they do want to go and share that with other folks.
I think if it becomes cool not to smoke, kids won't smoke.
What anti-smoking message would you convey to teens? How would you convey that message?